Hi. I know last week, I did a lesson about text features and I mentioned text structure in there and we just didn't get there. So I thought I would finish that up today and then we'll kind of review both of those for you. So, what are text structures and why do you need to know how to figure those out? Text structure is the arrangement of ideas and the connections to the topic that the author uses. Knowing the structure of the text gives a reader a plan to help them understand the information that they are reading. Okay, there are five main kinds of text structure. And so let me show you those. There is description. Description has the author's going to give you the characteristics. He's going to tell you what something looks like, what color it is, how big it is, if it's an animal, does it have fur, does it have feathers, does it have scales, just what does it look like? And they're going to give you examples. And so that's going to be description. Another type is sequence. All right, and there you're going to see words like first, next, then, last, before and after, in the morning, in the afternoon. Those kind of words that are going to tell you that the author is talking about the order of events. Okay, and then you have compare and contrast. What's alike and what is different. All right, and so those would be two of the key words that you might see too. The things that whatever the topic is, how is that alike with something? How is it different than something else? So those would be two of the key words you would see. Similar, different, alike, compare, contrast, because compare means alike and contrast means how they're different. So those would be some of the key words that you would see to know that that's the text structure. Cause and effect is another one. Cause and effect is when something makes something else happen. And so you're going to see again, cause, made, and also, I have found that it's sometimes easier to figure out what the effect is and go backwards to figure out the cause. And another thing that can make that one kind of confusing is that a cause makes one thing happen, and that's the effect, but then that effect can also become a cause and make something else happen. And so that can make that one kind of confusing. And the last major text structure here is problem and solution. And that's, there's a problem and how is that going to get fixed? I think we saw that Reach for the Stars in the biographies that we read with week one. The characters had problems, like they didn't have enough money for college, and how did they fix that? And so those are the kind of thing that you would see with that. So text structure is important to know, because if you don't realize what kind of text you're reading, you're really not going to know how to approach reading it. And if you don't know how to approach reading it, you are not going to understand a lot of it. And so, there's some things that you need to do to make that plan. And so how do I go about having a plan for my reading? How do I do that? So you need to think about what you already know about a topic before you start to read it. So you pick up a book, you look at the title. Maybe it's something that you have to read, so you don't have a lot of choice. But think about what you already know about that topic, okay? The other thing, and this one's a hard one, make sure that you are aware of your own understanding as you read. So you should stop between headings, every 3 or 4 paragraphs, something like that. Stop and make sure you understand. How do you do that? Restate it in your own words. If you can do that, you understand it. If you're having trouble with some of that, fix it. stop right there and fix it. Because if you go ahead and push through the reading without understanding, you're kind of wasting your time. So you need to have strategies that are going to identify like different words. Okay. So you're going to come across words you don't know. How are you going to handle that? So knowing those the 7 different syllable types, that's going to help. Again, if you can pronounce a word, a lot of times your ear will remember that word and you'll at least have some kind of idea what it might mean. If you know, understand concepts and ideas that the author's presenting. And I'm going to tell you again, I know I've said this to my class many, many times, reread. That needs to be your primary fix-it strategy. Sometimes you just haven't read far enough, but I always start with rereading when I don't understand. Okay, and to be aware of how that text is organized or structured. Ask yourself constantly too, does this make sense? Do I understand what I'm reading? Okay, and that's kind of developing a reading plan that's going to help you understand that. Okay, if you don't have a plan, you don't have a real clear purpose for reading. And if you don't have that clear purpose for reading, understanding is going to go by the wayside. So, you need to just, excuse me, you need to just keep monitoring that and making sure that things make sense. Okay, so again, text structures are the way the text is organized. Text features are things that the author uses to help you understand. And we went through those. So I thought today I would do a really quick review. And really the only book I had at home, I have one science book and the social studies book. So I thought, let's look for some of the text features. So I was doing like a text feature walk, basically. So of course, you have the title at the top, front of the book. Just opening it up here, we have the table of contents. All right, so that's telling me what a lesson is about and what page I can find that. Okay. And then we have, within that lesson, we have a heading, and then we have subheadings. And remember, that's going to tell you what you can expect to be reading about. We also have, let's see, same page here. We have a bold word here. All right, and then we have bold words that are also highlighted. So that's going to be like a vocabulary word there. A map is also going to be one of your text features. So telling you where something occurs. Italics is this kind of print. This isn't like within the text, but it was about the only example of italic writing that I could find. And so it resembles cursive. They're not really connected, but they do slant. And so that is italics. This shows an inset. So you have the map here, and then it's showing you, like here's an inset. This shows you what the Arctic Ocean looks like. So this gives you a close-up of that Arctic Ocean. Here's the larger, okay, same thing. Here's the Hudson Bay. This gives you a really close-up look at that. This gives you in relationship to the rest of the United States, okay, or Canada actually there. So that's what we would call an inset. So the smaller picture of something within the bigger picture. Sidebars. And they're down here at the bottom. So let me see if I can get this camera down there. Okay. So, this is in addition to the main text. So there's a picture and some information there. All right. Sidebar. Picture and a caption, and we're used to seeing that one a lot. So here is, move that camera again. Here's a picture, and the caption tells me that hurricane winds can destroy homes. I tell you what, that looks an awful lot like one of the islands I was on, and it is in the Caribbean, so it could possibly be. Another text feature that we had was a chart. So that's going to organize things into columns. Remember, columns go up and down, and rows. So, they have headings and sometimes title. This one doesn't have a title. And here we have a drawing. Okay, that goes along with what we're learning. And here we have bullets. Okay, so remember it's inset and there's a dot or some other symbol in front of it. And this one would give you like a diagram. So we have this picture of landforms, and you can see the spots are numbered. And then down here you have the numbers, and it tells you what that is and explains it. So this would be a diagram. Here we have our glossary. Okay, remember that is like a dictionary that is specific to this book. Okay, and I didn't see too many in the text itself, but here is a pronunciation guide. So this tells me that I would say this word as agriculture. Agriculture. Okay, so it tells me phonetically how to say that word. And lastly, we have an index, and this shows us in alphabetical order. So we've got, A, B is down here, C continues, and it goes on, and a page number that a topic's on. This is very, very specific, much more so than your table of contents would be. So those are the ones that I found in the social studies book. In the science book is where I was able to find a cross section. Okay, so this is a cross section of a volcanic eruption. So the front is cut away and faces you, and so you can see what's going on inside. So that is a cross section. Some of the others I couldn't find in our books, so I just kind of looked up some examples online. So a timeline, and we've talked about that a lot recently with our biographies, especially. We had timelines with people's lives. And so this is showing actually when social media came into being. So in 2002, LinkedIn. I didn't know that was one of the oldest. Facebook was 2004, YouTube at 2005, Twitter 2006, 2007 was Tumblr, 2010 was Instagram, and also in 2010 was Pinterest. So that's kind of an interesting little timeline, but it tells me when all of those things happened. All right, I did not find, surprisingly, graphs. So this would be a bar graph. So this is one that's about sports being played. So you can see, here's your key that tells you what all the colors mean, okay? Number of students and the sport. All right, so another thing we can have is a pie chart. So this is talking about the ethnicity of different populations. And so it's arranged in a circle, and, the percentages are broken down by how much of the circle is showing that. We have done like line plots. The lines didn't print out very well, and here are the lines that show the numbers, but I have no idea what this one's comparing, but different groups, and I don't, the numbers, these were just examples that I found online. And this would be another labeled diagram. So, hey, Frank, you might find this one interesting since you guys listened to your hearts the other day. But it labels all of the different parts of the human heart, okay? And finally, the last one that I had trouble finding in our books was a cutaway. And so what they've done here is to cut out a section of the Earth. So you can see that this is planet Earth, okay? And they're showing you the layers inside. And they've even got a little inset here that shows you how the crust is made up. Okay, so those are examples of the text features that we talked about the other day. So text structure, how is the text written to help you understand? Description, sequence, compare and contrast, problem and solution. How is it written? Text features are those things that the author uses to help you understand the text. And that's the difference between the two. I will talk to you next time. Have a good day.